You know, being a teacher in Idaho has never really been easy. I mean, we were doing stories 20 years ago where we followed a teacher from Caldwell all the way to Las Vegas as she was applying for a teaching job there because they paid better. Well, she got the job. So pay is one thing, but you throw in what teachers have had to deal with over the last couple of years, you can understand why people aren't just looking for jobs elsewhere, they're looking for other careers. Last May, an informal survey of school districts showed there were as many as 900 vacancies statewide. Some Idaho school districts are getting creative to attract what is a vital part of schools, substitutes. Oh, and pay is still a thing. Here's Joe Paris.
Idaho continue to battle staffing shortages. Shortages made more complicated in recent years by the COVID pandemic and increased politics surrounding schools.
When COVID hit us, a lot of the districts had to really struggle with the trying to find substitutes. And so what we did initially was we increased our sub pay.
Craig Woods is superintendent of the Emmett School District. Woods, like other superintendents, has gotten creative in recent weeks and months to help staffing and promote substitute opportunities.
We've all kind of tried to be competitive with the sub pay. And one of the things that I think I heard it at a superintendent conference that I was at, that there's some unique things that they were doing was to incentivize and have subs that are consistently there for you have an opportunity for some kind of reward. And that's kind of what we put together this here in Emmett.
This week, Emmett schools highlighted their new incentive program for substitutes. If a substitute works 10 or more days during a pay period, their name will be entered into a drawing for an additional day of pay. If the substitute works 15 or more days within a pay period, their name will be entered into the drawing twice.
That's kind of just an incentive to, because we have some great substitutes and they're so important. And especially when we can plan them out ahead of time, it's really nice to reward those ones that really want to help us out.
Emmett isn't alone. Schools around the state continue to see staffing and substitute challenges. The State Board of Education did an informal survey back in May. School districts showed that there were as many as 900 vacancies statewide. A follow-up survey indicated that the number of vacancies for certified teacher positions across the state has dropped to 134 since the start of the school year. Of the 134 vacant positions, 68% are in special education, 52% are in math, and 35% are in science. The State Board of Education says many of the vacant positions are being filled by people with little or no education experience or training.
Any given day, there's at least 5 or 6 positions within our district that go unfilled that we're calling out for substitutes on, and we just don't get enough people coming in that are willing to help us out.
In the Middleton School District, Superintendent Mark Gee says pay for substitutes is on the rise as the district seeks new subs. The district's announced that substitutes, regardless of certification or position being filled, will be paid $110 a day now.
It was a little bit lower previously. We just felt like we needed to see what we could do to get more people interested in subbing for us, and that was one way that we thought we could approach it.
There are also additional incentives for substitutes that commit to filling in for extended periods of time. Incentives for substitutes is also a tool in Idaho's largest school district, West Ada. The district tells me that this year has been much more normal with substitutes, unlike the previous few years. Still, they do utilize an incentive program where substitutes who sub in a class for 10 days in a month receive an additional $100 bonus, and substitutes who serve for 15 days in a month receive another $100 bonus, $200 in total. That program has been in place for over 3 years, West Ada says. Across Idaho, the reality for schools is that the staffing world is competitive.
It is. We all kind of watch each other. I know what Boise School District are paying their subs, and so we want to be as competitive with Boise, West Ada across the board. But you have to kind of be that way. Plus, you drive around town and you see what's the marquee signs that say we're paying $15 an hour starting wage. Well, as a school district, we can't compete unless we're right there with it.
So if you're watching this, your local school district likely needs some help, and if you have some time and are willing to, look into supporting your local school by substituting. There's a lot of different roles substitutes play, and they are doing their very best, the schools, but they do need more people. And Brian, talking with schools today, another area that we've touched on here on the 208 that I just wanted to emphasize on since we have the time, school bus drivers. They are still looking for school bus drivers across the state because there's simply not enough.
Okay, so as you see the marquee signs, as he mentioned, the $15 marquees, why not just raise the rate that you pay substitute teachers?
Right, and budgeting only goes so far. You know, the truth is they only have so much money in the budget. So the idea with this incentives for teachers is, you know, what we heard basically described. If you're going to be, you know, a repeat substitute, or you're going to be consistent, or you can be there long term, you'd be more interested in saying, okay, we're going to give you an incentive to keep coming back. Of course, they'd like to give teachers and subs, you know, millions of dollars, but it's just not in the budget, and there's the practicality of it all. But, you know, you try to give as much as you can, and they know that this may not work, but it's an idea that they're hoping will definitely get some interest. Talking with the Middleton School District Superintendent, though, he says, you know, he never sees them going back, paying less than they're paying now.
Okay, well, that budget obviously trickles down from the state level, from the agreement there at the JFAC and all that way down. That all comes from that. So that's one of those issues that will come up again this next legislative session.
And when we talk about hundreds of millions of dollars in budgeting for the state legislature, I think a lot of times we talk about buildings and supplies and teachers. We're also talking about budgeting for support staff like substitutes.
Yep. All right, thanks, Joe.